Hey everyone, welcome to the weekly catch-up podcast. I'm Carson Gibbons, and this is episode number 6, which means that for the last 6 weeks now, I've been getting to sit down with my good friend B-Rad for a weekly catch-up, and you eavesdroppers have been peeping in on us. So, Mr. B-Rad, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, Carson Gibbons. Happy to be here recording with you for the 6th week in a row.
That's pretty great. I was looking at our analytics, and it only goes back about 6 or 7 weeks now, but we've had a lot of traffic in that time period.
Yes, thank you to all the listeners once again. Shout out to the family and friends, and maybe one or two strangers.
Yeah, no, I was talking to Ellen the other day. She has this podcast called Balance Movers and Shakers podcast, and she's got this whole online presence for it, a website, social media, all of the things that we haven't really dedicated ourselves to. And she has nobody in her personal network is actively listening to that podcast like ours, but she has. When you look at the geography of people that have listened to her podcast, she's been listened to in 48 countries or something crazy. Now, granted, it's always a brand new, unique visitor who has no idea who she is. They're coming for the topical format, but our engagement is so different. And dude, give me a fist bump because last week, dude, our average consumption per episode doubled last week. That religion rant that we went on, I'm telling you, no drop-offs, baby.
All right.
It was that podcast was listened to in total hours, double the next rival.
And that was one of our longest episodes.
It was. So I guess in part that makes sense, right? But longer episode, longer time listened. That's stupid. No, but we've created 7 hours and 32 minutes of content. We've had 300 streams of the podcast across 9 platforms in 12 states and about 50 markets. And we've had, get this, so your normal hour 40, your 40-hour work week or whatever.
Okay.
Picture that. That's the amount of time that people have listened to our podcast. 40 hours.
Wow. Thanks, guys.
Everybody's just looking at the episodes and they're like, 2 hours a pop. That's 20 listens from mom.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate all of your ears.
So what's been on, man?
Oh, went to Austin this past weekend with Courtney and celebrated my mom. She's doing well. She's actually here with me today.
Wait, what do you mean?
Oh, she's she's in the other room.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
So I've been getting in the habit of, I'm trying to respect Brad's time whenever he comes to the Dallas studio because he's always coming from Keene when he gets out of school. But so I had everything set up in the podcast studio today, and he just comes in and we start recording. That's why we're a little haphazard. You brought your girlfriend to the podcast?
Yeah, she's here, man. I figured we could get dinner afterwards, or
Courtney, get what? I can't believe that you would spring this. Okay, hand her the microphone. Get up, get up,
right.
Get out of here. All right, Brad's leaving the studio. I'm gonna grill Courtney for a second.
Oh boy.
All right, mic up to the mouth. Courtney, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. This is a really untraditional way to meet somebody.
No kidding.
So
I don't approve.
Yeah, I don't really care. That's why I get to be the drive time host here. Wow, I have a billion questions to ask you.
Ask.
Who are you? Where are you from? What do you want with my friend?
Do you want me to answer all of them?
Yes, in
Okay.
sequence.
My name is
To
Courtney,
my satisfaction.
Obviously. Y'all know I'm a nurse, I'm sure. Yes, I think. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have discussed that on the podcast.
Okay.
You've been mentioned in at least 3 episodes, I would say, at this point.
Oh wow. So I'm actually from the Fort Worth area. I grew up in Keene, that area too. I actually went to CTA, where Bradley's teaching, which I'm
That's
sure
where my mom went.
you guys know. What else did you ask me? Oh,
So
what do I want with
you
him?
went
Oh, boy.
to the high school that he teaches at.
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Well, wasn't that
You're a
long
nurse, so
ago.
you have
Yes,
to you have to have gone through college at this point. So that's a good
I
thing.
graduated high school in 2015.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I'm a child. We know.
That's 4 years after I finished SWO.
Yeah.
Bradley.
It's not that bad. I think it's only like what? 5 years? It's only
38
5
years, something like that.
It's only 5 years. It's
Okay.
not that bad.
It is weird because Brad, so I'm less than 2 years older than Brad, but because of the way my school years fell and the way I did college, I graduated in 2011. So I was 21 years old. Like I was still probably pretty young.
Gotcha.
Like, but if you go 18, 19, 20, 21, it's the way it worked out for me. I don't know how old Brad was when he graduated, but he graduated in 2014. Well, I knew that. I was asking how old he was.
So I was thinking about this and I couldn't really peg exactly when or where I met him. And
That was going to be one of my questions.
So, well, here you go. So in high school, CTA is right across the street from Southwestern, of course. And senior year, there was a group of girls and we played all varsity sports. We were done with high school, so we attended all the Vespers, all the games, and we were already trying to introduce ourselves into that SWO lifestyle because that's where we were planning on going.
Hanging with the upperclassmen.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where I met him, but I can't peg exactly like when or where, if it was like at Southwestern, because I mean,
So you can't quite remember whether or not you met in high school or in college.
Well,
I get it.
So when I graduated,
stay murky on that.
Like he was leaving as I was coming in. You know what I mean?
No.
So
well, and Brad's we've discussed this on the podcast. Brad's in touch with a lot. I'm in touch with a lot of age groups, all of which are older than me. So like from 28 to death at this point. Okay. But he's always been good at like having the relationships to death as well as like younger than him, partly because he's an educator, partly because he's actually just willing to lend his mentorship capabilities. But okay, keep going. So you met
somewhere
you went to SWO for nursing.
Southwestern. Yes, I graduated this year from Southwestern, and then I'm in Temple being a nurse. Temple, Texas.
Okay.
And so it's honestly it's halfway in between Waco and Austin.
Okay.
So it's not bad. It's only an hour and a half.
Interesting. So how are you guys handling long distance so far?
It's really not long distance.
Yeah, actually we were talking about that a couple episodes ago where you were saying it's like an hour and 45 minutes or something like that. It's like it's not like I was making the point to him, like everybody's had a relationship where it's like less than an hour away and one that's like 20 hours away.
Yeah.
So 1 hour and 45 minutes is like just this awkward thing. But it seems like you guys are doing what I would do, which would be, a couple times a week, try to hit every weekend type deal.
Yeah. And like I said, like it's not bad because I am a nurse. I only work 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So if I'm stacking my days, I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I have the rest of the week off. I come home. I see my family. I see him. Do all the things.
So what's it like dating an older man? Like, what's your biggest gripe about dating someone so much older?
He goes to bed at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. You're trying to turn up in Temple.
Exactly. Honestly, so far at this time, I have 0 complaints.
Wow.
Except he does snore.
I can see anybody that knows Bradley and the way that he
yes,
looks.
It's
not true.
He looks like a big bear. We should have named this 2 Bears, 1 Closet, but 2 Bears, 1 Cave was already taken.
Oh, God.
Well, Courtney, this is an awesome way to meet you. I'm glad that you could avail our listeners of the
real.
when, where, how of how
I
this
promise.
happened. You're real.
I'm real.
You're not his iPhone app. Her.
Anyway.
Well, I'll let you off the hot seat. I've got to go back to giving Brad endless crap over
Please do.
dating such a younger woman.
Yeah, please do.
But a lovely one at that. So congrats to you both. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Courtney, everybody, to play her out. Yay.
All right, that's enough.
All right, B-Ren. Wow. Way to just crash the podcast. You're like, want to make it official to the world. Who was the aunt that was griping on Facebook?
My Aunt Mindy.
Mindy?
Yeah.
Mindy. Did they actually officially?
They have met.
Okay.
Now.
I was about to be like, yo, Mindy. Just
Nah.
met his girl on the podcast. What's up?
Oh my.
So when did they meet? You took her to church
like 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Did Mindy reference her post on Facebook, or did you give her any crap?
I was just like, well, like I knew that they were all gonna meet in due time. I just didn't want her to be like overwhelmed to meet all of my family at one time because
she might run.
That's a lot. So just did bit by bit.
By bits.
Yeah, anyway, okay. Moving on, next topic.
Well, congrats, B-Rad. She's adorable.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
I'm excited for you.
Thanks, man.
So why is she in town?
We had our blue and white game last night. That's our school colors, and our varsity and JV boys and girls played against each other. And then we had like a staff versus a student association game. It was a huge fundraising night. I ended up being the MC, and I think everybody had a good time.
The MC?
Yeah, I was like the host of everything, and so I just kind of...
You like kicked off the Olympic Games?
I kicked off the Olympic Games. We had a huge halftime show to where our athletic director, he has like this gnarly mustache, like just like a thick, like good old boy mustache. And his wife has actually only ever seen him without that mustache once. And so for a fundraiser, I hatched a plan with her that if we raised enough money, we would shave off his mustache. And he's a man of the people, and he's a huge supporter of the kids as well. And so he said if we raised $1,000, he would shave it off. And we did.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, because he has a heart for the people and because it'll grow back in like 4 days.
Yeah.
It's not like his head.
Well, it's like a part of him, like you just have something for so long. Like it really was a part of him. Like the kids were freaking out because nobody has ever seen him without a mustache.
Do you remember that parody group of, remember back when we were in college and poor Dean Knight was getting ridden out of town on a pole?
Yeah. So there was a group that said "Save Dean Knight."
That was a very active, engaged group.
Yeah. But then there was a parody, "Shave Dean Knight."
Oh man, that provided. There's nothing like a good parody account. I used to go to. I've talked about being on the board of AMA in the past, American Marketing Association. And they used to have for the executive board teams of every different market. They would send you to. They would say Chicago. It was actually Rosemont. And it was like the worst weekend of the year, and they would send you to like this hotel that you never left the hotel all weekend, and there were just breakout sessions and all of this stuff for marketing all weekend type deal. And there was a parody account that was just, it was real time. So like you'd be watching Twitter, because everybody's like hashtagging, trying to get, retweets and, here's what this person is talking about with a picture of this person while they're talking about it, just trying to get the Twitter love. And so the parody account is real time. So they'll be like mocking the person speaking at the front. And whoever's done it the last couple of years has been spot on. It's called AMA Confessions. And it is their GIF game is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Is it GIF or GIF?
Well, it's supposed to be GIF, but everyone pronounces it GIF.
Choosy moms, choose GIF. GIF's my favorite peanut butter.
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Creamy or crunchy?
I'm going to need you to volley the ball.
Service? All right. Hit the net once again.
Welcome to the Brad physically reacts to Carson's verbal words on a podcast that's audio only.
Oh.
B-Rad, what's happening? So are you flabbergasted because you bring the girlfriend to the live taping here?
Yes, mistake.
Technically every taping is live, right?
Yeah.
That is still. Hey, dude. Update on shout out to George Rosa. That meant a lot that he hollered at us on Facebook about our conspiracy theory stuff.
Right.
And there is an update. Did you see all the Project Veritas stuff for Jeffrey Epstein with the ABC reporter on the hot mic?
I'm going to be real with you. I mostly saw all of the memes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Man.
There was like somebody went into Target, and you know how you can get different Christmas stockings with like your initials on them? somebody spelled out with all of the Christmas stockings. Epstein didn't kill himself.
Oh,
Thought that was pretty creative.
No, there's there's a yeah. I saw a pregnancy test one like Epstein didn't kill himself or something.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about. Did you see the leaked tape? There was an ABC producer that leaked a reporter, and forgive me, I don't remember her name, but I'd never heard of her before. But she's on GMA, all of the different news programs for ABC, flagship news, and she was caught on hot mic having a discussion with her producer around the time that all of the Epstein stuff was coming out, and she was basically saying, like, first of all, have you heard about this?
No, hit me.
Okay. So this just dropped like within the last 48 hours. Like I watched the Project Veritas video on YouTube, I think 2 days ago, and then it hit like my Twitter Explore feed today.
Got it.
So basically, she's just having this extended conversation with her producer about how she had all of the dirt on Epstein 3 years ago. She was ready to go. She was locked and loaded. They'd done this whole undercover investigative. I can never say that word. Investigative. There we go.
Sure.
Yeah. Man, on air, off air, that word has always gotten me. It's so frustrating.
Investigative.
Yeah, you do it better than me.
Thanks.
Anyway, so they'd done this whole thing, and they had this whole thing packaged with like evidence. She goes, "We had Clinton." She goes, "The stuff that we had." Like they had stuff on the Prince that we referenced. They had stuff on a lot of stuff on. She made it sound like they could sink Bill Clinton's boat permanently based off the evidence that she had gathered. And ABC ended up squashing this whole story. And they kept saying, like, she would be in the briefing room or whatever, and she would be talking about the updates on the story, and they would just be like, who cares? Like, who is Jeffrey Epstein? Like, he's an educator turned billionaire? Like, who cares? Like, so he
They're
has
just like dismissing it.
Yeah, and it was weird though, because when I heard that rebuttal, I had to go back and think, well, contextually, why does Jeffrey Epstein matter to so many mainstream people all of a sudden? Because it's not like he was. You remember when Big Papi got shot in the Dominican Republic this summer?
Right.
You know, there was generations of us that watched him, you know, dominate with the Bo Sox. That
Yeah.
you know, tremendous outpouring of support towards him. Blah blah blah. But Jeffrey Epstein, you know, we're all following this investigation and conspiracy like we know him, and we don't know him. Like, what context were you introduced to him in that you cared? Because it was just weird the way that they were saying, like, this is just some boring vanilla white guy that might be a very rich pedophile, essentially.
Yeah.
So when did you first hear about it? Because I can never remember this type of stuff.
So I first heard about him whenever he was arrested and put in prison. Like, I didn't know of him, honestly, before any of that happened.
I guess my deeper question is not, like, physically, how did you hear about it? What was the thing about it that stood out to you that you were like, this is going to matter? Was it the fact that it was a billionaire? Was it the fact that it was a pedophile? Was it the ties to the, you know, very powerful men? What was the nugget for you?
At first, it was the ties, like the people that he's connected with, because, you know, that's interesting, and there are a lot of important people right now that could be taken down should all of that be true. And then it was this, you know, we talked about how he was killed, or if he did, you know, commit suicide, which is improbable. But that just made me start paying attention to a lot more. So it really wasn't until his death that I started keeping up with it more.
Interesting. Wow. So like very recently then.
Yes.
Well, go check out. I actually looked up Project Veritas. They do a lot of like the have a camera hanging from like their necklace or whatever, and they'll go talk to a CNN media producer over lunch at the local haunt, and they'll just like get the real scoop on stuff.
Try to expose them.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in the news recently. I'm a big 60 Minutes guy. I know that that's probably one of the oldest things about me, but if it's Sunday night, I like hearing the ticker.
Right.
I was famous as a child for saying, why don't they just call it an hour? But now I get it. 3 stories, one every 20 minutes. And now you don't have that bushy-eyed Andy Rooney or whatever. You know, what's the deal with toothpaste? But anyway, no, Joe Biden was on it, a week ago?
You've been working on that bit.
No. This is all improvisation. Brad, Man,
You've been waiting to get off that joke.
no, if I'd been working on this, like, you think it would be a little bit more polished than that?
No. Anyway.
It's not a solid impression. I very critiquingly listened to last week's podcast, and I was like, why did I go into my, faux Bill Clinton voice and not really do it well? Like, it was kind of embarrassing, but
it's okay.
it sounded more like deranged George W. or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to what I was saying, Joe Biden was on 60 Minutes, and 60 Minutes did a report like a week later saying, hey, here's the feedback from the fans. And they had one email from each side saying, one was, you didn't go hard enough on him. And the other one was like, why would you essentially help boost him? Why was this a paid advertorial for his campaign?
Right.
And his campaign is hurting. Like in the last quarter, the Socialist has raised $30 million and he's raised $9 million.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's looking more and more bleak for him, in my opinion. But, dude, Election Day is less than a year away.
Yep.
We are, 360-something days away?
I believe so. And I don't know I'm sure you're going to bring it up, but, Beto dropping out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to bring it up because it didn't even seem newsworthy. It's like he announced and we're like, yeah, you're reporting old news. You've been out of it since before you started.
Right.
Yeah, I was talking to some Democrats over the weekend, and they were saying that he should have run for Senator Cornyn's seat.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that as well.
But I always said, I shouldn't say anything, but I voted Beto in 2018.
Okay.
Largely because I thought Ted Cruz was kind of insufferable,
Agreed.
I just didn't want to look at him. But now that he's grown that beard, he's a lot better to look at. Like, he looks a lot less like Satan's butt.
He looks a lot less like the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah. Man, he's... But John Cornyn seems like more of a likable guy.
Yeah.
Just, hi, I'm bland white guy.
Right.
Representing the South of
Texas.
Just
very mayonnaise.
Yeah. But, he doesn't look like Lucifer like Ted Cruz did without the beard.
Like, there's no spice. You know what you're getting. And that makes people feel comfortable.
I don't know if did he drop the F-bomb as he got out of the race like he did the last time?
I don't think he did. I didn't see any of that.
What a silly young boy thinking that he could be president. Like, for real, the big critique that I've seen about him in the mainstream, like, in addition to 60 Minutes, I like SNL, and especially around these types of times.
Oh, yeah.
And SNL, I'm always interested to see how they hit you, like where they're going to hit each candidate.
Yeah.
And yeah, with him, just like a lot of jokes about being a boy in an oversized suit and just like, hi, I'm Mr. Gumption. I'm running for president.
Yeah.
So what do you think he's going to do next?
I don't know. Stay in local politics, I guess. To be honest, I don't know.
Dude, the whole purpose of doing all of this, the whole reason, probably a lot of people have speculated the reason why Trump ran was just to form like Trump News Corporation, was just to form like the book club and the mailing list and to be able to direct sell to a rabid group of fans for the rest of his life.
Have you watched the new Seth Meyers stand-up on Netflix?
No, I have not.
He has a bit in which he claims that himself and Obama are responsible for Trump's presidency.
Oh, yeah, he's been on that because of the Correspondents' Dinner?
Correct.
Yeah, he's been on that for, I don't know. I'm anxious to check out that special. I personally think that his show kind of sucks, but...
the special, I watched it last night. I thought it was pretty good.
You watched the whole thing?
Well, I watched it until, I put something on until I fall asleep, but I'm going to finish it. I think I have like 20, 30 minutes left. But it was interesting. Whenever he got to his political jokes, he actually made an option to where you can click it to skip all of the political jokes. Like, because people are so tired of hearing, Donald Trump. Yeah, there's an option to skip ahead.
Is it just like rolls credits once you do it?
No,
that's all he has.
No, because he talks about his wife and like her pregnancy and his children.
I hate
things like that.
I hate that stuff. I hate when I like my comedians to be like, an abuser of substances and very personally flawed, unable to keep a relationship.
I will say he does it kind of cleverly because he's like, okay, and this is the part where we're going to bring back the audience. And then he's like, and that's why I think we should give the president a chance. I think he's like a really good guy or something to that effect. And it's really to entice the people to go back and actually listen to all the jokes that he had on it. I thought it was done somewhat cleverly.
So the production value was the interesting point for you. Like,
right.
It's almost like a Bandersnatch, like choose your own adventure. Like, you want to hear Seth talk about politics? No, skip ahead.
Right. And then he kind of captures you and it's like, whoa, how did he get there? And so entice them to go back to it.
So you did skip the
I didn't. No, okay. I didn't.
Interesting.
But he explains to the audience that, okay, in like 10 seconds, this is where they're going to catch up. And then he like gives that line.
Interesting. I need to watch that one. Again, I think we talked about this last week, but Netflix, just the queue is totally. They know I want to watch the brand new stand-up releases the moment they come out. At least give me access to them.
Right.
And
you
so,
don't get notified?
Well, by like with the email preferences?
No, there's like a notification that I get whenever something new comes out that they think that I'll like. Kind of like a Facebook notification.
I do too. I just think it's wrong. Oh, and you know what? I have I forget I have 3 households on my Netflix. So it's just sending me a bunch of stuff. It's sending me stuff.
Typically like and dislike the things that you watch as well? Because that helps that helps the algorithm.
I didn't even know it was an option.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you're not liking what they.
Well, and Netflix is so. I feel like I'm on a deprecated version of Apple TV at this point. Like I have one of the original versions, so I'm not sure how much different my Netflix interface is on my Apple TV versus on mobile.
Yeah.
But on mobile, I actually have access to view trailers, to like stuff, to there's a coming soon feed that it sends me all the that's really cool. And I'm always thinking, why don't they have that for what just dropped? Don't show me what's coming up. What do I need to already catch up on because there's so much content out there? Because last night I spent the night watching Arsenio Hall.
Yeah.
The new Netflix special that he has.
Right. I have not. I've seen it advertised. I have not watched it.
Where have you seen it advertised?
On Netflix. For me, it shows all of the new releases.
Okay. How are you consuming it most of the time?
Like on what device?
Yes.
My laptop.
Okay. Interesting. I never watch Netflix on my laptop. Ever. If I'm in bed, it's phone. If I'm anywhere else, it's TV or I do a lot of phone actually. Netflix actually came out and said that 50% of streams are mobile.
Interesting. I don't watch too much on my phone, but oh well.
The Weekly Catch-Up podcast is consumed 61% by Apple Podcasts.
Ooh.
And 80% by the further we get in here, I think a couple people clicked on the actual anchor page. You can access at weeklycatchuppodcast.com. But we've gotten very minimal YouTube views,
right?
Which I'm just putting it there as
just to have it,
not actively promoting that. It's not really. If I could direct the traffic anywhere, it's generally to the Apple Podcast.
Yeah, I think the last link that I shared was also from there rather than Spotify or anything like that.
Actually, that's the interesting thing. Let's talk about Spotify because Spotify is steadily the number 2 streamed platform.
Yeah, and they're shoveling a lot of money to boost that up. I think they want to be number 1.
I don't know if you saw my my Twitter this week when I was going back and forth. Did you know Al Muya at SWO? He was he was a comm student. He was more on the.
Is he the guy that shared a book with you?
Yes.
Okay. I did see something like that.
Yes, very cool. He was probably way before your time because he graduated with me or the year before me, I believe, something like that.
Got it.
I know he was older than me, and last time I checked in, he was working in a newsroom or for some sort of publication or something like that. But working in the comms field, which is really cool because all the students from that program, there were a lot of weird kids in that program, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, you remember. I think they tried to vote me class or a program president of that club 2 or 3 times, and I quit going to the meetings because I was like, I'm sorry, I kept turning them down. I'm not going to be this guy. But Al was always really cool, and he shared with me on Twitter this book that I actually did pick up called The Four
Okay.
by Scott Galloway. It's like a New York Times bestseller, but it's basically going through some of the core DNA points of Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google. And so people are referring to those guys as the Four Horsemen. And so the question that he was raising, and he shared another YouTube link that I need to go look into. I didn't actually watch the video, but they're talking about Spotify being the fifth horseman. And just because all of the whatever's happened with licensing music, I know that they're the number one streaming. I've heard a lot of news about them recently, but
Yeah.
they're the number one streaming platform for all of music, obviously.
Yes.
But their podcast play is really interesting.
Yeah, and that started like last summer or the summer before, where they just opened up the floor for podcasting, and now they have like original podcasts. I mean, during our first episode, you asked me which ones I listened to. I listened to the top one that I listened to is the Joe Budden podcast. He's an old rapper, and his two friends talk about like the music industry and stuff like that. And he has a deal with Spotify where his episodes air on there first, and then you can find them elsewhere a few days later.
I thought his deal was that they got every third episode or something like that.
No. It's every episode beforehand, and they record twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays.
So Spotify gets it first.
Yes.
For how long?
I think for like, I don't know, 3 to 5 days, and then they have like a YouTube video where they actually record, and you can see them.
Is it not on Apple?
I believe it is, but like I said, like several days later. But then Spotify also, they made a deal with the Obamas, like Barack and Michelle, and they're going to have their own podcast, which is going to be a Spotify exclusive as well.
What is the benefit? Like, is Spotify really seeing that having Joe Budden 3 to 5 business days prior to it hitting Apple?
They are one of the top podcasts in the world.
I know that. I'm asking why. Like, is that from a consumer incentive standpoint? Like, you're big on plug your Spotify stuff. Like, you're like a god on Spotify, right? Like,
I mean,
I don't even use it.
I have a playlist that I update weekly. It's called the Weekly 10, where I just find 10 different songs and put them in every week. And so it's pretty easily consumable. It's about 35 minutes and doesn't take long to listen to. But I love sharing new music with people. So I've been doing that. I have I think I just hit 100 followers like this week or last week.
Cool.
So that's like a big deal for me. It's like a little thing that I like doing.
Do you mean for all of us to consume the songs in the order that you arrange? Like,
so I do put them in a specific order to where it's like I don't pick like a really loud song and then the next one's like a really quiet one or vice versa. Like I am intentional in the way that I place them, but I'm not going to tell somebody how to listen to it.
Why not?
I'm just happy that anybody chooses to anyway.
Is there not like interludes with Brad?
No, because it's on Spotify,
like,
so like I can't.
You guys enjoy that banger right there?
I mean, I would love that. Like I would choose that as a job if I got paid for it.
Being a disc jockey?
Just being like a curator.
Interesting. A curator.
Yeah.
You've always been one of those people that when you come over and bust through the door and like, have you seen this video or have you heard this song? Like,
yeah, man. Like,
you know, I'm ears perked.
I love music.
And usually I fight you at first. I'm like, no, I got the new stuff.
Yeah,
man.
Carson gets so excited whenever he's shown me a song that I haven't heard before.
Oh, overjoyed.
Yeah.
Like I'm just lifted into the sky whenever that happens. My
Right.
whole body vibrates.
Yeah.
What was the last one that I was actually pretty surprised that? Do you happen to remember?
I don't at the moment. I'll let you know if I do.
The last time that, looking back in my Shazam history,
Right.
Brad went with me to Blackfriar the other day.
Was it something with Future or Young Thug? Maybe, I don't know.
Future hasn't put out anything new recently that I've Shazam for sure.
Okay.
Young Thug, I listen for the Young Thugger on the verse, and I'm like, oh, I gotta Shazam it.
Anyway,
but the last 3 that I have in there are from Blackfriar when I was just holding my phone up to the speakers, and it's all the Roots songs.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, how?
And then I had a long discussion with you about Black Thought. He's the rapper from the Roots.
That freestyle.
For those that don't know a lot about rap, they are the house band for Jimmy Fallon. So if you ever watched the Jimmy Fallon show and you see the dude with the huge afro on the drums, that is Questlove. and then the dude typically rapping is Black Thought. And in my opinion, he is at least top 3 best rappers ever, in my opinion.
You showed me who did he freestyle on? Was it Sway or who are the big? Will you break down the city, location, and the person that does like the London rap, and then
So I'm not good with the city location.
there's a representative from
Yeah,
who's
so
like
you
the
have
big boy?
So you have like Sway in the Morning, which is a huge one.
Is that New York?
I'm so bad at geography.
Geography.
So
knowing stuff.
yeah, just knowing where they're located. I don't really pay attention to that. But you have Sway in the Morning, and their big thing is like they have the 5. I think it's called the 5 Fingers of Death, and it's like they bring in rappers and they'll switch the beat like 5 different times, and they try to keep up the flow.
Sway
And
Lee.
No, Sway Lee's a young little
Sway in the Morning.
Sway in the Morning. Yeah, you don't remember that Kanye interview? How, Sway? That was Sway in the Morning. Anyway, then you have like Westwood. Westwood's the London dude across the pond.
Okay.
Childish Gambino has a really good freestyle with him.
Sway in the Morning is Oakland, so I imagine that he's West Coast.
Yeah.
So West Coast, and then who was the London guy?
That's Westwood.
Westwood. That's Tim Westwood. Is that the
Tim
white
Westwood. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
guy? Isn't he
And then
white? He's like a white older guy.
Yeah. And then there's another dude that records for Apple, and he man, I wish I could remember his name.
Dude, Tim Westwood, English DJ and presenter of radio and television. He was on MTV's Pimp My Ride UK. He's 62 years old.
Yeah, but he's like a legend over there.
How did he get that cred?
I don't know. I don't know much about his come up.
So he's not specific just to rap then. He plays all types of music. He probably interviews all types of artists.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But my favorite interviewer, and this is like a really niche, like awkward dude. His name is Nardwar. Nardward. Naar Nard D something. Nardwar. But he does like a lot of like he'll check up and I don't know, I guess like all of their like family members and friends of musicians.
He looks like he was on Blue's Clues.
Yeah, he's this just really weird, eccentric dude.
Or the Wiggles.
But he does his research on all these people, and he'll bring gifts for them, like old LPs, like these vinyls of their favorite rappers from like whenever they were 12 years old. And, you know, all the musicians are like, what? How'd you know that? And it's crazy. So if you ever want to like really learn about your favorite artist or rapper, you should definitely check out Nardwar's interviews.
And he's 51 out of Vancouver.
Yeah, he's a crazy dude.
I'm all about, I take probably the most mainstream cup of coffee to get updated on hip hop and R&B culture, which is Breakfast Club, obviously.
Yeah.
I've listened to a little bit of Brilliant Idiots with Charlemagne the God. And I love Charlemagne the God.
Yeah, and I don't know.
What's your deal with him?
I mean, that's like Joe Budden's biggest competition, and I'm more of a Joe Budden fan. And I know Joe Budden like rubs people the wrong way, but I think he's turned over a new leaf, and like he's been in that industry, and so he has a lot of connections, and he just knows, like he has a lot of insight on like how the music industry works, which I really appreciate and find interesting.
And Charlemagne doesn't, huh? Shots fired.
Shots fired, baby.
DJ Envy. Like, Angela Yee.
Yeah, I just feel like Charlemagne the God, like they care more about shocking moments and just trying to make those headlines, whereas there's more like actual meaningful content in Joe Budden's podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I just go to them. I don't watch any of their stuff other than the interviews.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but I love them.
Okay, so we were talking about Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back on track. And what was your main question about Spotify? Or you like? I know you were just saying that.
Yeah,
they're becoming more interested in podcasting.
I had a couple points about that. Thanks for bringing us back to that. Actually, so Al was saying, they're rumored to be the next, fifth horseman. Shout out Al. Bought the book. I'll update you guys on how that is. And I just tweeted him back and said, "Oh, without doubt, like based off all the headlines that I'm reading, all the articles, just I actually sat through in Y Combinator. I sat at the feet of the chief R&D officer of Spotify, and he took us through the entire like graph of their growth, like at every point. And he would do the zoom outs, and he'd be like, "This is where we decided to partner with Facebook for this single sign-on thing," and like,
was there a huge spike? Or
oh yeah, sometimes that was the beautiful thing about it, though, is that he showed it over such a long period of time that and he would make you guess. He'd be like, "This is when we did this," so he'd have like an integration or some big thing that they had an influx of, or we changed the streaming app from this is what the freemium would now include.
Right.
When they got to shuffle play as like the paywall essentially.
Yeah.
That was like a big breakthrough. Like it's all that kind of stuff where it's like usage as well as upgraded accounts, all of those different things. And meanwhile, they're having to fight off the record industry and like the current labels and all of this stuff
Yeah.
all the time. So it was funny because he would show you the integration, he would talk through the process, and then we would have to guess what the inflection point in the graph was. And we were often wrong. And it was sometimes the simplest of things that would just skyrocket them. But their graph was like, it would go from 0 to 100, and then it would plateau off for a little while, and then 100 to 1,000,000. Like it was like just these huge inflection points. But yeah, their sustainability is just incredible. But going back to a couple things, they actually bought the platform that we utilized to syndicate our podcast. So Anchor, which is kind of where we house our digital content. It's where we push everything out to Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and however our audience is consuming us. Anchor was purchased by Spotify and is now like I don't know what they've leveraged internally there.
Yeah.
But just getting back to what is the consumer incentive to consume via Spotify? And is there exclusive content in podcasts that I'm not able to access unless I have a Spotify premium membership?
So at the moment, I would say there are some small to medium sized podcasts where like they are exclusively on Spotify. I would say that there are much bigger ones that, once again, if you want to be up to date on the latest episodes, then you would have to listen on Spotify. But if you're willing to wait a few days, you could check out another place. But like I said, I mean, they're getting back to more original content. I believe like the Obamas, their podcast is only going to be on Spotify. I could be wrong on that, but I know that Spotify is trying to have more exclusive content, like you're saying.
It's so interesting, like these platforms and ecosystems that started for free, and now there's like paid versions of them and like only post it here. That's everybody posts everything everywhere. If you're going to on an all-out go-to-market blitz, you're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, like
but
leveraging every channel.
But if you're big enough, then okay, it doesn't really matter like where I'm listened to. Like if this company has enough money to pay me for this exclusive content, then yeah, I'm gonna sign away, and everybody will have to listen to me here because they wrote a fat check.
Well, beautiful case in point, the man who started this long form, untrained kind of thought progression in recorded form, our hero, my hero, Howard Stern,
right?
Sirius XM. Well, they got him initially for $500 million to take all of his stuff to, satellite radio from terrestrial, where he had, broken every rule in the game essentially. Yep. But his fans are rabid, and it seems to have worked out for them somehow. I don't really know how per se. I think they ended up bundling a lot of sales into like new cars and different things like that, and they just get you on that. They're like, "Hey, buy this new car, and you get 3 months of Sirius
XM radio, or
and
Sirius,
then
yeah.
You don't realize that it's just bundled into your payment, or another credit card subscription. Like,
yeah, and you forget to cancel it, so you just always have it.
I saw an ad the other day for a service that you pay just to go through and look at all the different subscriptions you have and decide which ones are superfluous.
I saw that too,
like,
and so ridiculous. It's like you're gonna pay $5 a month to see what you're paying for.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you just sit down and make a spreadsheet? I make a spreadsheet for literally everything.
Right. You made a spreadsheet for this podcast.
Oh yeah, I've got a spreadsheet for the metrics and I look at them different ways, because the thing that I'm most proud of is just definitely, the the quality of content and the length, like, having good long conversations. I think that's atypical. We've talked about that off air for sure, that it's got to be atypical that two guys can just, grab two mics. And I know we shocked ourselves a little bit with the 2-hour one last week.
We got content for days.
But that one was exciting because we definitely went on a rant, and I got some funny text messages from friends and family about, they were just cracking up about the prayer request part and all sorts of different stuff. But had a lot of people. I was really glad that the audio was so upgraded last week, because I got a text of like people were screenshot texting me like whenever they would have the podcast up.
Yeah.
And I got one from John Seals actually.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, yeah, I just got the brand new version of AirPods.
And we talked about them.
And I was
last
like,
episode.
oh yeah, buddy, you're kind of peppered through the first 30 minutes actually.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
I was listening to it with someone else and they were like, dude, you just talk about your friends the whole time. You're name dropping like a...
Well, got to know our audience.
I did get friendly on that one though.
Yeah.
Well, if you get more research on Spotify before next time, because
I'm on it. I'm passionate about that.
Because I've boycotted Spotify ever since. Actually, here's the newest subscription that I got kind of inadvertently this week, and it's actually YouTube Premium. So I've been a longtime subscriber of YouTube TV, which was historically $40 a month, and I got all of my local channels, all of the sports packages, golf. I got cable basically just on my phone. I could AirPlay it. It was really convenient. They actually went up to $55 a month this year.
Oh wow!
Which is, I was like, I'm gonna cancel it, but when I think about it, it's like I want to watch the morning news. I want to watch golf. I remember having to try to stream an NFL game through Reddit back in the day when I was trying to bootleg, and that's not fun because Hail Mary goes up and the Reddit link crashes, and or the person that's like, taking a video stream of their TV, like it goes dead.
Dude, that's what I had to do whenever I was in Maryland trying to catch Cowboys games.
Oh yeah,
it was rough.
That's because
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and I'm not one of those guys that's going to go spend like, I need to have 20 screens on one screen to watch every game. Like that would just be terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway. I'm not a bookie or a gambler like that. But no, what was my?
So you were saying that you got YouTube.
So I got YouTube Premium, and didn't really understand what all was entailed with that. But now I can actually click out of it just like a podcast, so I can be watching the video.
It won't stop playing,
and it won't stop. So that's convenient. I have some podcasts, like I was telling Michael the other day, that I wanted him to. He was talking about The Fighter and the Kid, and he was sending me texts with the Apple iTunes link, and I was like, dude, that episode though, like if you could dial it up on YouTube, like just for specific moments, that would be awesome, because there are certain times, even on the golf course, I'll be streaming through YouTube and just listening on my AirPods.
Yeah.
But then, Rogan recently had this guy on, this like commander in the Navy who'd seen all the UFOs, and they were looking at government footage. And so Rogan in his preamble actually was like, if you can consume this podcast via YouTube, that would be preferable, because we're pointing out specific stuff. Like young Jamie is, doing a heavy production job.
Like they have nice visuals.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a new thing. No ads whatsoever. That's been pretty nice.
Yeah.
I have the email still in my inbox from the subscription, because I'm planning on canceling it in the free period still, if I can. But I wanted to measure it during this free trial.
Yeah, for me, I've owned Apple Music and Spotify, and I canceled my Apple Music just because, I was telling you about how I have that playlist that I update, and Spotify is just so much better at finding new music that fits my personal preferences. Like every week they have Discover Weekly for your own personal profile, and they have songs that are like the ones that you've been listening to recently. And I just find it like a lot more convenient to find new music. And it's for me personally, it just seems a lot more user friendly, but I've heard people argue against that, so that's fine. I guess it just depends on who you are.
I've never had a subscription to Apple Music. I don't know what that's all about.
Not about it.
No, it's just an app where you can stream.
I mean, they have other stuff too. Like, the music that they suggest to me, it still seems like a little bit more mainstream. Like, it's like, okay, I I mean, I feel like even casual listeners of music have heard some of the stuff that they suggest. Um, and Spotify does a really good job at like showing me new artists that nobody has heard.
I know I've been in tech, the last couple of years and should know all about all of this, but the big tech, like the big, B2C play, I'm just unaware of like what all the spread looks like. Like sometimes I'm watching an ad and I'm like, who is the ad actually for? Like, I was recently watching a football game and I think the new AirPods or this new, Bose, I think it was Bose actually, their new AirPods. Not,
Okay.
everybody's following Apple. Apple comes out with the AirPods. Next thing I know,
everybody's got to follow suit.
everybody's got a rip off, or these are intentionally, they'll drape around your ears but they're still wireless. And so Bose had one that was integrated with Alexa. And I remember thinking back from my startup days when we would like package an integration with another platform and then we would, market that. That was good marketing for the startup. And I was just thinking, this is that at like the most global scale,
Right.
But like, I just feel like whenever I put my AirPods in, it's, tethered to one of my Mac. I have two MacBooks sitting on the table with an iPad and an iPhone, and everything's triggered by this Amazon Alexa and, the Apple TV. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm sending text to the TV. And
so I have the original AirPods, and I've seen the ads for the new ones too. And to be honest, they just look like a bougie skull candy. Like they have the new rubber tips, but I'm like, my $20 skull candies have that too. So
rubber tips for your actual ears?
It's to like help them stay in more.
See, I haven't struggled with. I don't know who is like. You need to quit
Right.
whipping your head back and forth if your AirPods are falling out, because I have. My version is a year or two old, so probably the original version.
They are.
They've never fallen out. Like to the extent that sometimes I have to check before I shower to make sure that they're out because you forget.
So I don't know. I think it's more for people who like are working out in them. Maybe I don't know.
Or maybe they just have like terribly shaped ears or something.
Yeah.
Cauliflower ear. They were a fighter. There was a big. My buddy Michael was on me about the UFC this weekend. Because everybody was like, Trump got booed at the World Series and the UFC apparently. But the guy who won, I guess he exchanged Twitter shout outs with the president.
Oh, really?
And well, Trump got in trouble because the guy had tweeted, or the guy had been in like a pre-show interview or something. And he basically called Trump. He said, whatever you say about him, man, that dude is a bad MFer. And like in a positive way. Like,
okay, yeah.
He's legit, dude.
Yeah.
And so Trump retweeted that and he goes, great fight, champ.
Yeah.
But the dude that he destroyed was like bloody as all get. Did you watch the fight?
No, I did not.
I guess it was in New York. The only reason I knew about it was because of Michael, and it was signaling the end to Sober October.
Oh.
Are you familiar with that challenge?
I'm assuming people just stay sober during the month of October.
This is so perfect.
Am I far off?
Yeah, no, it's what Rogan and Kreischer and Ari Shafir and
okay.
Tom Segura, Tommy Bunn.
Was it because they had like the weight loss challenge, or were they just trying to stay sober?
Well, on recent podcasts, they've been having to like go. They're like, dude, we've been doing this longer than we thought, because apparently the first iteration was like a let's get Bert sober type play, and or like let's get him leaner, and it's taken over many different iterations over the last, I guess, 3 or 4 years that they've been doing it. But the deal this year was that if Bert had gotten down to like 205, they were gonna present him the heavyweight belt on stage in New York at the weigh-in for the fight that happened this last weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was like, Rogan was going to stream it out. Like, it was also going to get the whole UFC boost.
Did he not reach?
Of course not.
Oh, okay.
He was like, dude, if I can just get down to like 211, then I can just get like sick and starve myself and throw up for the last 24 hours. And
didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah, no. No. Do you not listen to Two Bears, One Cave?
I don't.
What are you listening to nowadays?
Joe Budden podcast, Beautiful Anonymous, beautiful stories from anonymous people. I'm also checking out Office Ladies.
What's that?
If you're a fan of the show The Office, the ladies that play Pam and Angela are going back and giving behind the scenes like fun facts about every single episode. So they cover an episode per podcast episode, they cover one Office episode, and they're on like episode 4 right now. It comes out once a week. And so if you're a fan of that and you like rewatching it, you can get like some fun behind the scenes facts if you listen to this podcast.
So are they on YouTube? Is the video actually breaking down the video? Like, are they
to be like, so you're the YouTube guy. I actually have no idea if it's on YouTube. I've been listening to it on the Apple Podcast app.
okay? So are they just describing like frame by frame? Like, do you guys remember episode 42 when Steve, Carell does this?
and then they'll give some like behind the scenes or like, oh, this shot took us so long to record because they were coming up, or they'll let you know like which scenes were improvised, and they'll like last week they called Rainn Wilson, who plays Dwight, and he gave some fun facts about some of the scenes that he shot. And so for me, like, I'm a huge fan of The Office, so it's just been really cool, like, to have somewhat new content on an old show.
Yeah, because it sounds like you can recall this specific episode just based on what they're saying.
Yes.
Through your new AirPods.
Absolutely.
That's cool. I mean, it's what we did with Parks and Rec a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
We both knew every episode. I'm not like that with The Office, but I always see like those franchises are so valuable. Like The Office and Friends, especially. Like obviously,
that's why they're going back. Like Friends is no longer going to be on Netflix. They're going to HBO Max, which is HBO's new streaming service.
Oh my goodness!
And then NBC is taking The Office back
from Netflix.
Correct.
And what are they doing with streaming? Just
streaming.
Okay, just
like they have their own stream. Like all of these companies are taking back because they know that there's money to be made in a lot of their classic shows. So once their contracts are up with Netflix or Hulu or whoever they've been with, a lot of them are taking back these shows now or dishing them out to some other streaming service who's going to pay more money for them. Like that's what's going on with Friends and HBO, I believe, is that they were willing to dish out more money.
Wait, I need an aggregator for, like, again, the benefit of Netflix several years ago is that it had everything. And now I just feel like if I want to watch that UFC fight, I need to have the ESPN app so that I can have access to buy this pay-per-view through this other app. And if I want to watch this new Marvel stuff, I got to go get a Disney streaming subscription. And now you're telling me about HBO Max and NBC and
Disney Plus comes out in a week.
It's just, first of all, the fragmentation of everything, like if the message reaches me that the new content is even out, like I didn't know Seth Meyers had dropped. If the message even reaches me, then I have to go on this like rabbit hole Google search of like, okay, how do I consume this content?
Right.
I have Apple, what's it called? Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And I still have never consumed any video through Amazon Prime because I just can't figure it out.
Really?
Like, yeah. Please look at that before you leave.
It's not the most intuitive, to be honest. Like, because it's like, okay, am I searching for a show or an appliance? But
is that you just do it in the main search bar?
Yeah, you can. Or there's like a small, like to the left, you just click Prime Video and then search. But there's some good shows on there too.
I've done that, but it always shows me things that I can access for another fee.
Yeah.
And I'm signed in and everything.
We'll look at it, buddy.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Fix-It.
I got you.
It's so good having a big, strong man around the house.
All right, that's enough from you.
And his girlfriend.
Okay.
No, I saw this thumbnail, and I remember seeing an ad for it. The new Jennifer Aniston, Jason Bateman project. It's like on the Apple streaming service.
Jason Bateman or Steve Carell?
Steve Carell.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's, what is it? Good Morning Sunshine.
The morning show. The morning show.
Yeah, the morning show. Yeah.
Boy, how many shows have been done around a morning show?
Who else is in it? Reese Witherspoon, maybe? I don't know.
It was somebody else, but she was.
I don't know, but
it was like 3 heavy hitters.
Yeah, but yeah. So Apple TV just came out, and they're gonna have they're another streaming service. So I'm just gonna have to.
It is Reese Witherspoon.
Aha. Never doubt me. Yeah, so you'll basically have to pay for one and then give me your logins, and I'll give you one for the Disney one, and we'll get some of our friends to get HBO Max.
The one that bums me out the most is the people that pay for Hulu, and then you still have to sit through like 4 ads 3 times an episode. I've never
Who's
understood
doing that?
I don't know, but
I have Hulu. I don't sit through ads.
I think there's multiple paywalls with them or something. Or they don't have like a free Hulu, do they? You have to be a paying member.
I don't know. I know it used to be free, but right now, shout out to my friend Monique for her logins. I got you on Disney Plus.
Monique, is she still up in the DMV?
She is.
What is she doing?
She went back to law school. She's
right.
Yeah, she's gonna be killing it.
Yeah, she was in all my honors classes back. We lived in the same apartment complex.
And she's dating another lawyer, my friend Joey. So shout out to Joey.
Wait, the one that I know?
Joey Duke Metzian.
Okay.
I don't think you know him.
Okay. Well, cool. Lawyer on lawyer.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Good people.
Yeah, she was always like, you could tell she was more sophisticated than the others at school. Like I could tell that we had a more similar upbringing versus some of the other kids.
Yeah. And no offense to if any other English majors that were around Southwestern during the time I was, like, if you listen to this, no shade, but Monique was like the only one that I liked and got along with, and she gave me.
I don't know how you can prep like.
No,
hey, listen, don't feel bad about this, but I really hated you.
You guys were terrible.
Yeah.
But she also gave me my first college job where I was writing for the school paper and also giving people new music to listen to in the Southwestern Adventist University newspaper. I was curating playlist for that paper.
So wait, new music would come out and you would like say, hey, on Thursday, publish these new songs?
It wasn't like a weekly thing because this would come out like once a month. So let's say Valentine's was rolling around. I'd give you like the good Valentine's Day songs, like the romantic songs that a lot of people may not have heard, like not just the,
Did you miss a
not
calling?
Just like the Michael Bublé, like we can do better.
We can do better. Have you heard this remix of Sexual Healing by Marvin Gaye?
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Yeah, the Diplo remix.
Yeah. Major Lazer.
Yeah.
No, that reminded me of something I was going to ask you.
Okay. We're talking about English majors or writing
curation.
For the paper?
Curation playlists. Oh, scoring. Dude, on JRE not this week, but maybe a couple weeks ago, Brian Grazer was on.
Okay.
So you should peep that one because he's Mr. Producer Extraordinaire.
Right.
And he was talking about how he's in the business of feelings. Like he's not in the major motion picture business. He's in the business of creating a feeling because
I love that.
Yeah, he's a really thoughtful individual. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
Like I could never score a movie, like, come up with the instrumentation for it, but my dream job would be to, pick music for scenes. Like, so whatever, if you hear like a Maroon 5 song in some random scene in a popular film, like I want to be the person picking the songs that go with those scenes.
Oh yeah, you want to be the match, but you're like, what's number 1 on the top 40? What's the big blockbuster?
No, I would blacklist all of those.
Maroon 5.
I would blacklist all of those songs.
No, so Brian Grazer actually has the funny part is that his resume is so extraordinary that, he's talking about when I was putting this project together, like I was working with Denzel. We made this movie called American Gangster, and Rogan would be like, oh, love that movie. Like, awesome. Yeah. That was a classic. And he was actually talking about the scoring of that film because
we're talking Jay-Z here, right?
Well, that was the interesting thing, was that I was having to go back and try to remember. He was making it sound like there were 2 albums released for the movie because what happened was whenever he first met Jay-Z, he had told him about the American Gangster project, and Jay-Z had said, dude, I really want to, score this movie.
Yeah.
I really want to do this. And Brian Grazer had said, oh, it's completely scored. Like everything is done end to end. It's already been submitted. Everything's good to go.
Right.
And there was like some sort of 3-week turnaround time or something. And Jay-Z said, let me just make an additional one that you could like even release side by side if you felt so inclined, because I have this special kinship with Frank Lucas
and
the story. And so I apparently he turned around, engineered it, wrote it,
Yeah.
did everything for it, and it really blew Brian Grazer away.
That album is incredible.
And I can't think about that movie indelibly without thinking about Jay-Z and like that beat and the trailer and like, oh, that was such a great flick.
Yeah, love it.
But that's something that you could do, scoring.
That's what I'm saying. So if you're somebody that can make this happen and you're listening to this episode,
why don't you just go look on Indeed? Or I was looking at some different job things like on Tegna, and I get actually, just for grins and giggles, I get a email blast every so often with all of the different like news anchor and broadcaster positions available and production jobs for, half of me. I almost followed up with this guy the other day to go try to be an EP on The View in New York, because I thought that would be so fun. Like I don't need to go back into enterprise sales immediately if I can go be on The View for a while.
Yeah, chill out with Whoopi.
Yeah, Joy Behar. I have a feeling she and I would get along, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I would get along with Whoopi.
But yeah, you should get some of those, because you can even do fractional work like that. Like if you wanted to do voiceover, if you wanted to score something, like I got a lead the other day on a film that's being produced kind of hyper locally that they're still raising money for, and the actors list is like Dermot Mulroney from The Wedding Planner or whatever, The Wedding Date with Deborah Messing.
All right.
And Jamie Lynn Sigler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah. From The Sopranos.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's the kind of situation where maybe you just hustle your way into that kind of thing.
Maybe so.
I think the best jobs are the ones that you create.
I like that.
That being said, like, I feel like I have different job opportunities at kind of every stage right now. Like we were talking about spreadsheets. I have a spreadsheet that I made this week that is now 10 cells deep. And it's basically like company, the person I'm interviewing with, what the type of position is, and then like the size of the company. And I've got this spreadsheet going from 0 to about 11,000 employees. And somehow I've been able to flesh out. We were talking about that article I wrote last week. I've had like 4 interviews since then, and I've got 2 in the morning, and I'm pretty excited because they're all like from these different representative groups. Like one would allow me to go do this, one would allow me to go do that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I'm really excited about my ability to create those conversations right now, though. Like I think some of the YC cred and different things like that is, help. Plus just having a more robust network of people to hit up whenever you do need assistance, or, hey, I am on the market.
Yeah.
But 2 of those would potentially require relocation. So we'll see. I had a lot of people ask me, like, why don't you just move back to Silicon Valley or something? And I just hadn't really thought of it in some ways, but a couple of these roles would be dream roles out there. So
yeah, well, that'd be a long drive to record a podcast.
Yeah.
So, just don't be selfish and think of me.
We're not going to be those people that do the Skype ones either. Like, no shade to those people. No. Like Brad would say, no shade to you, but we hate you.
Right, yeah. You're just incorrigible.
No, I mean, that would be a long shot, right? And do you still ever have aspirations for California? Like, you were
sometimes.
You were up for some gigs out there, I feel like, for a while.
Yeah, student services director position, which still seems like a cool job, but you never know. I don't tend to write anything off these days.
Okay. Very non-committal.
Yeah, you know me.
You got an RN girlfriend that can go anywhere, do anything, be employed by anyone.
That is true.
Sometimes I think that's, the direction that we should have gone. Like, I look at these people that like went through all of this headache, and at 30, most of your friends that went to post grad and all of that stuff, it's finally panning out. Like maybe you've been on your own with your own apartment and like your own car and all this stuff for 3, 4, 5, 6 years
while
at this
they
point,
while
they were grinding and like hair up, ramen status, and now they got the corner office and they're, a big shot lawyer,
chilling.
Yeah, director of something.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I had a kid today that told me she doesn't care if she gets a bad grade in my class, even if she can't play basketball tomorrow.
Even if she can't play basketball tomorrow?
Yeah, if they get like lower than a C or a C minus, they can't play basketball, and she's not passing at the moment. So, but she doesn't care.
Because she doesn't want to do anything, it sounds like. She's like, I don't
Yeah.
care if I can't do this stuff. I didn't want to do it to begin with.
That's correct.
Wow, what are you going to do with her?
We had a talk after, and we're cool now.
Oh, yeah? Do you text and have a heart-to-heart and just fix it all up?
No, we talked about it in the classroom, and
Dr. Phil?
told her to get her life together. It's fine.
Man, I would be like, man, you sit down there and you memorize this.
Yeah.
I would not.
She said she didn't care, but
That sounds like a pouty fit, and I have to remember, you're not teaching 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
You're teaching
We were-
16, 18-year-olds.
She was like, I don't care about my grade, but then like she couldn't tell, but we were in the computer lab, and I saw her like pull up her grade, and like she was checking it out to see what she had to do. And so I know she cares. She's just all talk. Anyway, shout out to the people in the corner offices. Well done for.
No, I want to go back to this problem child.
Oh, we don't need to do all that.
Yeah, man, you brought it up. You've
What
had
do you
all
want-
these.
What do you need to know?
Well, you've had all these positive experiences to share with the podcast audience about. Yeah, this guy was down on his luck, but now he found someone new.
Oh,
or,
well, that doesn't mean that I don't have my troublemakers.
I have a delusional student spotting Tony Romo in the street with his full-grown daughter.
Well, both of those were the same student.
And you have this other one that sounds okay. Then you have this other one that's like, I'm not gonna do it. You can't make me.
Yeah.
So
What do you need to know, man?
well, I mean, she's 16, 17, or 18. Like, what's happening
she's
here?
like 14.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't care. Like, they don't
Is
care.
it over like a subjective grade, like how you did her paper or something?
No, she is just literally the type of personality that does not care about what other, like, she enjoys pushing people's buttons, and so a lot of times I do not give her the satisfaction, and I don't really react, but I did tell her, like, because she is really into basketball, and so even though she says she doesn't care, I know she cares if she's not going to be able to play. And so I was like, I'm not going to raise your grade. Don't ask me for extra credit. I'm not going to be helping you out. You need to do the work that I'm assigning. And she was like, quiet. And then I see her go to the corner and like look up her grade, and then gets to work on the assignment that she's missing. So,
Wow. She sounds like a real lady.
yeah,
Got to be able to hoop though.
She's a sophomore. I got 2.5 years.
What an awkward time for her.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to her. Hope she gets her act together over the next couple of weeks, because I don't want to hear another story like that.
I got you, man.
What's her name?
Nope.
I was going to ask Courtney what her social security number was,
Oh,
and
my.
first, middle, last.
You're the worst.
Yeah, man. What else is going on? You see anything in the news this week?
Nothing that we really haven't covered. I mean,
Conspiracy updates?
Cowboys game. The shout out to the MVP, the Black Cat.
Oh yeah, I did think about that. I was like, we should talk about that. But
yeah. Things really turned around after that.
well, it was funny because somebody was texting me and they were like talking about the Black Cat, and I was thinking, I haven't seen that yet because I'm on delay. Like,
Oh,
I wanted to watch like an hour in and just skip all the ads.
yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I don't think I've gotten to that part yet, because unless it just
Yeah. You'll know it when you see it.
well, yeah, that was the thing. I didn't know if it was like a split second frame, because I missed them showing the streakers.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I hate how they never acknowledge the streak. They'll just like immediately pan the camera. And so I was expecting them to do that as well, and that it was just going to be some blip, and then it ended up being like a game stopper for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had to get the cat off the field.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Just the way it was like all black and like, how did that get in there?
I have no idea. It looked terrified though. I felt badly about it.
That's so weird. Yeah, I saw it go down the tunnel, and they're like, okay, crisis averted. And I'm like, it could just scamper right back
Right.
out.
Yeah, but that was interesting. But shout out to Cowboys. Got a good win. It was somewhat sloppy, but
And we're 5-3 now?
yes.
Okay. Witten was like making catches, and Zeke was doing well, and
Yeah,
I actually fell asleep.
it was a wonderful thing.
I do not like the Monday Night Football.
Sean Lee stepped up on defense.
Yeah, it's good to see him. Like, what? This is the 8th game, and he's still healthy.
Yeah.
Unlike your boy JJ Watt. JJ is like just a figurehead at this point, because like he doesn't really play football in Houston anymore.
Right.
Like, he sits on the sidelines and he provides great leadership, and he makes a lot of
Gets that
money
money.
in sponsorships and advertising, but he doesn't actually play football.
Now he's chilling.
Wasn't he out for like a full year, like last year or something? And
I
then,
believe so.
if I was an owner and I'm paying some guy like $150 million, and then he's always hurt, I don't think I'd be so nice all the time,
Yeah. No, I feel you.
because he's already nearing the end of his career. Wouldn't you say? Like,
Yeah.
he's like
Yeah,
30s, right?
He's on his way out, I'm sure.
Did you see the meme about him and his girlfriend at
No.
the World Series game? She was
Mhm.
like, they caught this photo of him looking at his cell phone.
Oh, I did see that. And she's like glancing over at it. Doesn't look too thrilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought that was funny.
Yeah, man.
Trump had the Nationals won
Yes.
to the White House.
Some of them, right?
I don't know. I didn't go through the whole drama of understanding like who on the team was boycotting versus who was going, but I did see that one of them. Did you see what happened when they got there?
Yeah, he got there. He put on the MAGA hat.
He
right?
had a MAGA hat ready to go and like went up to the podium,
and then he
put
got
it
an
on.
awkward hug.
Yeah, Trump gave him a Biden hug
behind the bag.
Yeah, like a booby squeeze. Like it was really weird.
Yeah, that's to be expected.
Yeah, but it looked like he was truly shocked by that at the same time.
Right.
Like, and that guy, he was the first. You know how they do this? First Hawaiian-born infielder to ever hit a home run in the world.
Yeah.
Like, how long did it take you to,
Right.
get that together? But
Just trying to get a record for everyone.
But I thought that was really interesting because it seemed like a really authentic moment. And typically, people are always accusing them of like, they always stick like the Latinos for Trump right behind the stage at a rally. They try to display a lot of diversity in the back, so that the whitewash crowd out front isn't as, they're not as straightforward about that. So it was weird to see that authentic moment. Like, oh, that guy like obviously planned that and like wanted to come up off of that.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But you're edgy right now. Are you trying to get out of here?
No, I'm good.
What's going on?
Nothing, man.
You going through withdrawals?
No. What's new with you?
Why are you so cagey?
No, I'm good, man.
All right. Well, I updated you on the job stuff. Just it's been up early every morning this week. I'm actually glad that. Sorry if I've been a little Dick Clark-esque all day because I've been to the dentist 2 days in a row now, and today was the heavy lifting day where they stuck needles in my gums. And
that is not what I thought you were going to say.
No. I just looked like I had a stroke on my right-hand side, and I took this swig of water earlier, and if you'd been there, it was hilarious. Me trying to just clean it up off the floors.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine.
It was like an old person trying to gum down some Jell-O.
Yeah, nothing's really going on this week. Hopefully having a chill weekend with family and Courtney, and hoping to hang out with a few friends this weekend.
Yeah, man. Did you finally RSVP to my birthday?
I finally did. What did you do? Text me, Instagram me?
I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Well, and Facebook events has been I got forwarded a text the other day of like, it was a screenshot of a Facebook event, and then I got the event invite on Facebook. And as somebody that just extended an invite to several people, like you can go through and see who's seen it, and a lot of people just never get served up the notification, or it's so indiscriminate. Because I had this one guy that's invited me to his guitar playing thing at this bar like every Thursday for the last 6 years, and I've never gone.
Yeah.
And that's just as important as like a birthday or anything. So you can just miss stuff.
Yeah. Well, I am going. I RSVP'd, and it's gonna be a blast, man.
I talked to Alec, and we always shout out Gerald. I talked to him this week, and he told me he was off of Facebook.
Yes.
So
yeah, Gerald's been off the book for a while now.
The problem with some of that is that when your profile is still searchable, or you can still like extend an invite to somebody who
you assume that they're still around or getting it, so you don't bother texting or whatever.
I've never actually pulled the trigger on delete Facebook. Like there's always that hashtag whenever anything goes down, but I just feel like it's too integral with I'm on Marketplace a lot too.
Are you? I've never used it.
Like the other day I was golfing earlier this week and had to hitch a ride on a golf cart back to the clubhouse because my strap broke. So like I'm just lugging this weird pair of clubs like over my shoulder It's cutting my round short, so I went on to go research one of those push carts that you can get. Because you can rent it at the course for like $8, or you could just go into Marketplace and get one for 20.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go pick one of those up. But yeah, I bought couches on Marketplace, screens, projector, all sorts of stuff.
Is that like the new Craigslist?
That's how I've characterized it. I've been advised by, I think my buddy Heston was saying, like, don't count out Craigslist, OfferUp, Let Go. You know, there's, again, fragmentation. There's something for everything.
Yeah.
How many apps are on your phone? Like, how many? I've always had a rule that I can't scroll more than 3 screens, and I like them to be all consolidated, because I like to play whack-a-mole and not have notifications on any single app.
Yes.
Or I'll turn the notifications off.
Yeah.
But if there's a software update, I've got 6 updates and like 28 email. I'm losing my head.
And if you're a person with 1,000 email notifications, you're also
no
somebody.
Shade, but we hate
no
you.
shade. But you're the worst.
No shade, but you suck.
Just the worst.
That was one of the most real B-Rad moments I've ever experienced. Like, no shade against you, but yeah, you are all terrible.
You bother me more than my students that don't care.
I don't want to think about that girl. She'd like rather hoop than.
Yeah, she's a baller, you know.
All right, man. Let's just cut this thing. Why not?
All right.
Weeklycatchuppodcast.com. You got any sign-off notes? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so Brad Colvin on Instagram, Humble Brad, BRVD, and Facebook, Bradley Colvin. Hit me up.
Facebook, my name. And I'm at Carson C. Gibbons on Twitter, Carson Gibbons on Instagram. Go to weeklycatchuppodcast.com. Search us on the iTunes App Store. Please rate and subscribe. Shout out to all the new ratings and reviews that we got this. I think we're up to like 6 or 7 reviews. And
yeah, guys, definitely appreciate that. Again, shout out to family. George Rosa, hope you like this one.
Another one.
Another one, B.
Shout out to Courtney for graduating school this year, landing herself a podcasting man. Woo! Oh, yep. No, good to meet her. Glad the audience could meet her, and that's quite the foray. Just bring her straight on the pod.
That's right.
All right, y'all. We'll shout at you later.
Take care.